So JUNIT, right? This is the one. So what is a JUNIT? JUNIT is a Java unit testing framework. So which is mainly used by developers, Java developers, right? This is the JUNIT and TestNG are for Java programming language who are all using for their automation testing or development. So they want to write unit test cases. There are different types of test cases, right? Unit test cases, system functional test cases, regression test cases, end-to-end test cases, like that, different types of test cases. So we are going to write what is test case. Test case is going to test your feature, whether it is working or not. So that is the main purpose of test case. So with all possible conditions, possible positive, negative cases, everything you will use. So that's the that guys. Okay. So sorry, I was talking on another phone. Okay, JUnit and TestNG are the unit testing frameworks for Java programming language. Every programming language has its own unit testing frameworks. C# has NUnit framework. JavaScript has, so Jest is there and Mocha is there. So there are a lot of frameworks are there. And for Python, PyTest is there. For Ruby, unit test is there. So it depends on the programming language that you are going to use for the automation, and they will support their own frameworks. So now if you are using a Java, right? So that's why we should understand what is JUnit and TestNG. So JUnit is a unit testing framework which is mainly used for unit test case writing purpose. Even you can write a automation test cases also with the JUnit framework. So the now latest version is JUnit 5. So in this, you need to understand what is annotation and annotation methods. So we need to understand very clearly. So annotation provides some metadata to the classes and methods. Annotation starts with the @ symbol followed by annotation name. So JUnit 4, you don't need to worry about that. JUnit 5, that is called Jupyter JUnit. And this Jupyter JUnit is @ before all, @ before each, @ test, @ after each, @ after all, disable, run with, suit. But so these are the annotations, very important. So we are not going to use any main method at all. So when once a framework starts, there is no main method, it comes into picture. So you won't use main method. Just you will create a class and then you will use these annotated methods. So every annotation is a one Java method. That method above you will write a annotation name. These are the annotation names. @ before all, @ before each, @ of test. @ test is a very important. @ after each. So these two are the pair. Before each, after each. Before all, after all. So that those are the pair. @ test is test. We'll discuss one by one. So what is meant by @? See, in the JUnit 4, before all is called as a before class. Before each is called as a @ before. After each called as a after. After all is called as a after class. But test is test, the same in both the versions. So what is before class and before all means? So before class or before all means, so in your current class, you can write multiple test cases. So how you will write a test cases with @ test annotation? If you put a method above @ test, that is a one test case. So any method above, if you write @ test, that's a test case. So @ test is the only annotation which is mandatory for JUnit and TestNG frameworks. Even if you don't write other annotations, that's fine. Those are optional. But we need to understand. So that is before all, before each, these are precondition steps. If you want to write a precondition steps, you will use before all and before each. So @ test is a test annotation. You want to write your test steps. You want to write your test steps, right? Then you will use this. So before all, before each. And you want to clean up after all your test cases. You want to do a cleanup, or you want to gather the logs. You want to take up no reports. That you can put it inside the after each and after all. Before all is just a setup. So you want to create a database connection, or you want to launch your browser. So any preconditional steps you want to do for your test case, then you can use a @ before all or @ before each. So I will tell you the difference between before all and before each. Bear with me a few more minutes. First, understand before all means what. So this is the first block of code that will go to the cursor, will go into that block and executes whatever the lines of code you have written. So wherever you keep this @ before all, bottom side, middle, or front in your JUnit class, first it will look for this annotation, but you have to write exactly the annotation name. B capital, A capital, no space. So it will look for exactly this annotation. It will find out that annotation, then immediately cursor will go to that block inside. And then first this block of code will export. So before any test case, any of @ test execution before, the before all is going to execute once for entire JUnit class. Only one time. And if you have a multiple test cases, so before all @test, one more @test, one more @test. First before all will execute, then test 1, test 2, test 3 will execute. Then you can do a cleanup activity with @after all. After all, you can close the browser, or you can do some cleanup activity. That's the after all. After all means, so destructive steps. Before all is the setup steps. You can do that. So that's a before all and after all. Then what about before each and after each? See here, before each means, let's understand this structure. So before all and public static void method name and curly bracket, and you can put all preconditional steps and close the curly bracket. It's a static method. Okay. The before all is a static method. So before all is a static method. Okay. Is it clear? And this is the, see, the method name you write, and above just put an annotation name before all. Then before, before. This annotated method will be executed. That means before each. Will execute before every test method. First, before each will execute, then it will come to first test method. So if the test method is completed, then it will go to after each. So that means before each, @test, @after each. So these three will rotate. And one more test is there. First cursor will go to before each will execute, and then second test, and after each will execute. That means you want to do every test before you want to execute some steps. Put them in the before each instead of repeating for every test. So that is the before each means. So before each will repeat for every test before, then test will execute, then after each. That's a before each and after each means. So, and then see, before each syntax is this one, before each and public void normal. This is a non-static method. So, and before all is a static method. Before each is a non-static method. @test also non-static method. Only before all, after all are static methods. Before each, after each, @test are non-static methods. So this is how you can write a setup. So then @test. So only test steps should be written inside this test annotation block. So we can write more than one @test annotations in JUnit and TestNG classes. Each @test represents one test case. @test, public void. So you should not change the annotation name. Annotation name should be same. Only your method name will be different. Only method name is different. But annotation name doesn't change. So you see @test, test method name. @test, test method name is test2. So now you can write multiple @test annotations based on your scenario, like login with valid username password, one test. Login with invalid username password, another test. So both blank. So validate. So username login scenario with a blank. So another scenario, another test case. So like that, multiple test cases you can write with @test. Each @test represents one test case. Inside that, you can write all the steps. That is this @test means. So @after each. So this annotated method will be executed after each test method. So first, so understand very carefully. So first before all will execute, then before each, then first test. First test after where it will go? After each. After each, so over, then again it will go to before each. If you have one more at the rate test, first it will go before each code will execute, then it will jump to second test. After test execution completes, then it will go to after each. So that means before each will be executed first, then test method, then after each. So if you take in JUnit class before each, after each, and at the rate test, when you can take, when there are multiple test cases, then only you can take before each and after each. So some steps are repeating for multiple test steps, and every test before you want to run those steps, then you can put it in the before each instead of repeating them in the each test case. Same steps. Before each will execute, then it will go to test block automatically. Once a test block is done, you want to do some cleanup, it will automatically go to after each. But you have to take them. If you are not taking them, they won't be, considered. So you have to write in the JUnit class. So that is the flow how it will execute. After class or after all is this annotated method will be executed after all the test cases in the JUnit class are done. So test 1, test 2, test 3 is done. Then after each will be repeated if after each is there. Finally, after class, after all will execute. Final after all will execute. So that is the entire flow how it will execute. So at that ignore or at that disabled. So this one at that disabled or at that test particular test case you want to skip it. You don't want to run now. Then this is how you can skip it. At that disabled you have to write. Just above the at the test you write at the disabled. In the JUnit 5 at the disabled, JUnit 4 at the ignore. But the JUnit 5 we are going to use, you write at the disabled. That test case won't be considered for the current execution until you remove the at the disabled. So this is the execution order. First before all will execute, then before each will execute, then first test will execute, then after each will execute. They again one more test is there. First it will go to before each. Before each will execute, then second test will execute, then after each. So then finally after all will execute. So this is the flow how that your JUnit annotations will be executed. So the features. So what are the features of JUnit is? JUnit is an open source framework. Okay, it's an open source framework. So which is used for writing and running the test cases. Generally, you will use the main method to run your Java code. You don't need here main method to run, to write your, to execute your test cases. Just so you can use these annotations automatically, they will provide a runner file, you can execute that. So it provides a annotation to identify the test methods, provides assertions, very important. Assertions means basically validations. So you when you do action, so there will be some output you will get, right? You are giving a input and you perform the output action, then you will get output. You have to validate this output. How you can validate that output? Using these assertions. Assertions are validation checkpoints. So provides a test runner for running the test cases. JUnit test allows you to write code faster with increasing quality. And JUnit is so very simple and easy to write a code. And JUnit test case can be automatically and they check their own results. So you can see the results also, how many passed, how many failed, you can see here. So that's another good advantage. So you can categorize your test case using at the rate category annotation. Sorry, at the rate tag. So at the rate category before, now it is at the rate tag annotation you can use. So there are assertions are there. So we'll discuss those assertions. See, these are the assertions. So org.jupyter.apa.assertions class. This is the class name. So this class inside you have so many static methods. So assert array equals, assert equals means compares expected and actual values. Expected means you are expecting this value should be there. What is actual? Actual you will get from the application. Application is giving what value? So that value and your expected value, both you will compare. So that is the assertion means. Okay, assert true, assert false. So these are the some of the assertions. So we need to consider them. Okay. So that's it. And tomorrow we'll write the test cases. And today I'm closing this session. So see you tomorrow. Okay. We'll write the test cases tomorrow so that you can understand how it is working. Okay. Thank you, guys.